once you've set up your own home, so you could leave it for 2 or 3 months and it just gets better, so that you're free to travel, then you can go and teach other people. And that's why we go to places like India and Africa, because a casual tourist look at those places will show that the houses there are not surrounded by all their needs. They're surrounded by croplands and they're surrounded by wastelands. Our first course in southern Africa was given in 1987, and 2 students came home and set up a magnificent training centre in Zimbabwe, the Fambidzani Centre, which contains most of the examples that Africa needs.
Whose is this one now?
Whichever culture you're working with, you have a cultural method of work and a cultural method of learning. In Africa, everyone sings. They sing the work, they sing the learning, they sing the story from village to village. And to me, the sound of people singing while they work is Africa. We won't find that in Europe. Many Zimbabweans are poor farmers, so everything you introduce has to be able to be made on the farm. Well, this heap went really quickly, Joseph. What are we doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just making these holes up to the ground so that when the air, because on the bottom we put some branches,
yes,
so that the air can circulate
through the heat.
Through the heat.
Yeah, when it heats up. You chaps work fast when you're singing.
Yes, yes.
It seemed no time at all.
Yeah, sure.
Very good.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Great.
You'll enjoy it when singing and making the compost at the same time. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not yours.
Yeah.
So this is like concrete.
Yeah, just like concrete.
And you moved in this half.
Yeah.
I find the students here are excellent and will make very good teachers. 9 months ago, John Ndira, who was with me, is one of those teachers. He's very fluent, and I find he knows at least as much as I do about this sort of system.
This part is a guild where everything works together. And this winged bean releases nitrogen in the soil, and the banana dealer collects nutrients, nitrogen from the soil released by winged bean. Then we plant pawpaw so that it can be a stake for these creepers. And we are also trying to maintain a house for frogs, lizards underneath so that they can pick the pests which come and eat some of the flowers and the vegetable we have around. Everything in the system or everything in the ecosystem do help one another in another way or in another round.
Yes, I'd like to say that this particular guild I've never seen. And permaculture is not about which species firmly, but that you have a legume, a plant that uses a legume, a plant that repels pests. So we will see hundreds of different guilds made by students. And they will find out which ones are very successful for them. And then that can become more of a standard and they can teach that one as a success. And what we try and do is make a lot of mistakes because that tells us which ones are good ones to use. So you can never have a typical permaculture. Every one you visit will be very different. So what we're teaching is not how to do it, but how to think about doing it. The centre has to be appropriate to small farmers everywhere. One of the good ideas, which although efficient, is made of local materials and can be made by people who are not real craftsmen. An extremely cheap beehive.
This is a top bar beehive. These are widely used in Africa anyways. Very easy to handle.
Yeah.
And
cheap.
cheap to make.
Anyone can make them?
Anybody can make them. You can see it's just an ordinary box. So as your honeycombs don't stick to the sides of the hive. See, so when you are cropping, you don't have a problem. All you need to do is just lift the bar up and you lift it clean with the comb, with that shape of the box there.
This is the starter for the...
Yeah, this is to start them off. You see, it's a bit of wax, which we use. We've got Mkwanda here, who is expert. So it's quite simple, indeed, to work with.
But these are African bees. These are killer bees, aren't they?
No, African bees are very lovely to work with. We are not dead. We are working with the bees, Bill.
The Americans would tell these killer bees. They're doing everything to stop them.
Very light.
One of the very exciting things that has happened in Zimbabwe is that students from Fambizanai were invited to a local school to teach permaculture design. The children at St. Vincent's come from the farms and villages of this district. Many of their parents are farmers.
That was January, yeah.
You can see the whole thing improved since. They and the teachers and the headmaster, Mac, who is very enthusiastic, brought in seedlings and seed from their own gardens.
Really starting to go with the rains.
Yeah, right.
The beginning of the rains, just nothing.
And how quickly did they get learning?
About 2 minutes. We started here.
Yeah.
And we went really...
It's not just an exercise for the kids. In 2 years, the garden will be producing all their lunches. The students worked out their site design and began by putting in hundreds of meters of water harvesting ditches on contour.
We dug a pit, so that most of the water can collect in there, and we put mulch in there. And these trees help to support the tree, which will then grow. Some are nitrogen fixers.
Did you design this idea, or?
Yeah.
I make the same thing in my home. That's why I recognize it. I think they all come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
You throw your old school books in here, waste paper. In Africa, we see most people as fairly healthy, with access to a pretty good education. But in densely populated India, we don't have that level of resources.